So how much did I spend on my motorcycle and how much am I spending on average right now? So in this video, I'll be showing you and comparing the cost of ownership of a Class 2B motorcycle as well as a Class 2A motorcycle. So a brief background will be I have had two motorcycles under my care so far. The first being the CB190X Honda Tourism and the second being the CB400 Honda Super 4. So my Super 4 is the carburetor model, a Spec 2 model, and ideally in this video it should show you the differences of the cost of ownership of the different class of motorcycle, and of course there will be assumptions being made for each of these different criterias. Because it will be based off my own personal riding style as well as some of the habits that I have, which may not be the same as everyone else. So just purely take it as a point of reference, though it might not be specific in your case. So in terms of the costing wise, I'll be splitting it up into two parts. One would be the monthly running cost and the other hand would be the one-time cost, which could include things like how much do I pay upfront for the bike as well as the miscellaneous one-time cost. Definitely the first component that we can't avoid when we are owning a vehicle would be parking fees. If you stay in a landed or in a condo in Singapore, then you don't have the same structure of parking fees as compared to that of a HDB. Because since it's a private car park, then technically it is free for you and is included in the maintenance fee portion, so I'll just exclude that out completely. If you stay in a HDB, then you likely get a season parking, which will allow you to park in the red and white lots in your resident car park. And if you visit other car parks, you're only allowed to park in the white lots that are available. So there are three types of season parking for HDB. So one would be the open air parking, second one would be the sheltered parking, and the third one would be the concessionary season parking. So I think they are all quite self-explanatory. The price breakdown will be somewhere on the screen here, as you can see. Personally, I would recommend to just go for the concessionary season parking because with just an additional $3 to $5 top up, you are able to park in all of the different HDB and URA white car parks in Singapore, which is literally across the entire island. Every time when I go out, I'll usually look for a HDB or a URA car park that allows me to park there for free. So this makes things a lot more convenient because you know that for sure you can park at that specific car park without incurring additional parking fees. And going on to the second part of parking, if you ended up in places without HDB or URA parking, then that's where it's a little bit trickier. You might end up having to pay a per entry fee or on a per hour basis. So some of these car parks can add up to quite a bit in terms of the cost wise, so that's something that you might want to watch out for. Based on my understanding, some of the entry fee can cost $1.50 and some might go even up to $5, and it really depends on where you go and as well as the demand and volume of the bikes that are being parked there. Personally, I don't really park in private car parks because I don't really like to bring my cash card out, so I end up always searching for HDB or URA car parks instead. But of course, there are some private car parks that do not charge a fee on motorcycles, which is something that I love. So yes, do look out for those as well. Parking cost remains the same regardless of the class of bike that you use, so up to now it's just $20 a month. And next up for the next point would be the ERP. Right now, post-COVID era, ERP is back for good. As more people are hitting on the roads and all, more and more cars are out on the streets. So I suppose ERP is now here to curb the flow of traffic. Unfortunately, I guess for this aspect, I might not be the best person to refer to because I don't really like to go out in the traffic and crowd around with other people, so usually I tend to avoid roads with ERP, and I also avoid roads that are that crowded. So usually I will avoid the timings that the ERP is activated because those are always the peak hours. So I would go out of my way just to avoid the ERP, not because of the cost but because of the traffic flow. And if you are thinking why I might want to do this, try going on the AYE during the peak hours and you will see why. So for bikes, usually the ERP costs from $0 up to $3 if I'm not wrong. Anyway, so for those who do not know about this, I'll say especially for riders, if you are like me who do not like to bring your cash card out, you can also opt for a virtual cash card. Basically, it's an account that is tied to your IU unit, so whenever you go past an ERP, it will auto deduct from the virtual account that you have, even if you don't have a cash card inserted in your IU. If you all know why I know about this, is because there was once I didn't have my cash card inserted properly into my IU and I got fined because of that. So another thing to note is the virtual cash card only works for ERP. You can't use it to pay for your parking fees. How I wish they could do that. I would definitely highly recommend everyone to go and get a virtual cash card so that you won't face the situation that I did back then. I'll include the link down below so that you can have an easy time referring to it. And if you find the content helpful so far, do drop this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. highly appreciate it. And the ERP cost does not change because of your motorcycle class, so it is the same cost for both bikes up to now. And since we're on this topic, let's talk about road tax as well. Once again, quoting motorist.sg for the formula of how do we calculate our road tax. Basically, in a short 6 months road tax for a class 2B, it'll be 3130, which works out to be 520 per month. Whereas for the class 2A, with a 399cc Super 4, we are looking at 5460 for 6 months, which works out to be 910 per month. I think that the road tax do not differ as much when you're comparing a class 2B to a class 2A bike. However, when you're talking about a class 2 bike right now, according to the formula, you can go and calculate how much does a 1199cc Harley Davidson cost. You can be expecting around 360 for 6 months just purely for road tax. Going on to the next point, will be on insurance. So you definitely need a third-party insurance no matter what, similar to the road tax. And I think that the prices for insurance will really jump based on these few factors, such as you having a bigger or more expensive bike. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? So other factors would include your age, your years of riding experience, your model, how much NCD do you have, your marital status. So based on my limited knowledge, I assume that they will use these factors to determine what's your risk tolerance and to determine the risk premium that you should be paying for. So if you see that your insurance is on a higher end, then likely you are in a range that has a higher risk level. Moving on to the next portion will be on accessories. So honestly speaking, I am someone who is quite lazy. I don't really bother with the power-up accessories, changing exhaust and whatever. I don't really bother with that. In terms of accessories, I'll probably talk about things like including a box for convenience sake. If you have a motorcycle box, it is so convenient. Like, I can't even explain how convenient it is because I put everything inside there. But if you ride a sports bike, then please don't put a box at all. Please. Another accessory that I would usually include would also be a phone holder. If you have the budget, then I would definitely recommend you to go for the quad lock. If not, you can go for the chip lock. If you are curious to know what is it, I would recommend that you watch the video made by Triple. They made a review on it. Once again, I'll put a link down in the description below. Other than that, I think that everything else is pretty much aesthetic purposes or pretty much optional to me in this point in time. So some will go and change the exhaust pipe, but just take note that if you were to change your exhaust, you need to have the certification. If not, when it comes to your annual inspection, you might get in trouble for it. Just make sure that it's legal. Some people will go and wrap their bikes with different decal, very optional. And I would say usually if you can just go for the aftermarket options because those are relatively cheaper and you can find a lot more variety from there. Just go and Google and see what other people say about their upgrades that they have made. I've seen many people upgrade their Super 4 to become extremely cool looking. I think for this aspect, of course, my box was provided for free by Project 8 Motorworks, so shout out to them when I bought the bike from them. And for my phone holder, I got it from Lazada and it cost me around $8 or so. I can't really remember, but yeah, let's just take it as that. And for my helmet, I'm using the half-face laser helmet that I've gotten it from Racing World. Main reasons why: half-face gives me more visibility as compared to full-face. And the second thing is because of the sunshades. I can't stand the sun in the morning. I got it for around $110 or so if I recall correctly, but do check out their website instead, link in the description below also. So next portion, it'll be on the maintenance part. I think that the most important maintenance cost that everyone would face would be the changing of the engine oil. And for all, I would definitely recommend to use fully synthetic engine oil to really protect and prolong the life of your motorcycle. If you use a semi-synthetic or mineral oil, you run the risk of damaging the engine after a prolonged period of use. Of course, this is just based off my limited knowledge. If there are discrepancies to this, please comment down below and call me out on this. For my CB190X Tourism, it runs on 1 litre engine oil, and for the CB400 Super 4, it runs on 3 litre engine oil. I will change the oil when I'm hitting around 1.5 to 2000 km, whereas for the CB400, I usually can go up to 6000 km per change of engine oil. So in terms of cost wise, they average out to be relatively similar. However, just take note that for the CB400, I have to change the oil filter after 2 to 3 times of changing the engine oil. So that would definitely incur an additional cost on that. But I think on average, it is relatively similar for the engine oil wise. But of course, don't quote me on this. Definitely the bigger your class of bike, the costlier your engine oil for sure. 1 liter of engine oil can cost around $20 to $25. Some can be more, some can be less, depends on the brand. And I'm assuming if I'm running on 1000 km per month, that makes up the cost to be around $12.50 a month for engine oil change. So I personally don't ride as much as compared to other riders out there, so this definitely reduced the total running cost that I spend on a monthly basis. Other than that, I think the other maintenance would be done on an annual basis, and it also varies person to person. So some of the maintenance items could include your spark plug, your air filter, your coolant if your engine is liquid cooled, brake hose, fork oil, your tires as well as your brake pad. And just make sure that your tires are of the right pressure so that to make your ride smoother. And next up will be the second most anticipated point of this entire video, which is your fuel cost. Honestly, the cost for petrol needs to stop rising, and I think this point is the one that will really separate a Class 2B bike and a Class 2A bike, because this is the one point that I see the cost, my monthly cost increase significantly. According to the current prices of petrol from motorist.sg, we are looking at $2.88 per liter for 95 octane petrol. And on average, my CB190X can give me a fuel efficiency of up to 40 km per liter. That's insane, which means every 100 km I'll only have to spend around $7.20. And if I run it at 1000 km per month, I'll be at most spending $72 before discount. And usually there will be discount when you use selected credit cards, and just assume that we are going on a 16% discount using the Shell Riders card. Then the total cost will be $60.50 for the Class 2B bike. And whereas for my CB400 Super 4, this fella can really drink. I'm averaging around 22 km per liter right now, partially because of the age of the bike also. So just based on that, for every 100 km I'll be spending around $13.09, and which makes up to be on a monthly cost of $109 after discount. At this point, I don't know if the math makes sense, but I hope it does. But you can see that the price difference is very significant, just purely based on the fuel efficiency wise. One is 40 km per liter, one is 22 km per liter. Once again, there's plenty of trade-off in terms of using a bigger bike, and there's more power, there's a lot more that can come with it. So you decide whether or not the cost makes sense to you or other factors. Going down to the final point for today, it will be on how much did I spend to buy my motorcycle. So for my Honda Tourism, I got it brand new back in 2020 for 10,000 Sing dollars, and I sold it in September 2021 because I decided to upgrade to a Class 2A bike, and then back then I was looking for a Super 4. So whereas for my Super 4 it is a relatively old bike, it has roughly almost 2 years of COE left, and I got it for $4.2 thousand, and its COE will be due next year. So there are many questions from my peers on what am I gonna get after the COE is up. Am I gonna renew? Am I gonna get a new one? What am I gonna get? Honestly, I'm not in a rush right now, so I can't answer that for now. I think there's still some time left before the COE is due, so I don't want to rush into making any decision even before the time is up. But we'll definitely see again when we get there next year. Definitely some models that are for consideration would still be the Super 4 Revo or the CB400X. If I were to go for a Class 2A license, then I might consider getting a Class 2A bike too. We'll see again when we get there. That's about it for this video. I hope that it has helped you so far. If you like what you're seeing, do drop this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment down below what are some of the other questions that you might have. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.